Hello all. In today's lecture, we are going to learn the various power plant cycles. Actually, this lecture will be conducted only for taking the overview of the power plant cycles. So, we are going to see all the sketch of the various cycles, and also we are going to see the overall general working of the each and every cycle. So, in these power plant cycles, we are going to also learn the formulas for efficiency. This lecture is only limited up to the formula of efficiency of the cycles and the overview of the sketch of the various types of power plant cycles. As if now we have seen how the power plant design affects the system, then how the various measurements in the power plant are taken into consideration, also how the what are the various aspects related to power plant design, what are the advantages and disadvantages of measurement of pressure, then temperature in the power plant systems. Then we had a lecture series of around 9 lectures of power plant instrumentation, and now we are coming to the next point, which is a power plant cycle, because the cycle which governs a thermal power plant or any power plant cycle, that we are going to see now. So, when we are particularly speaking about a power plant cycle, we know that this cycle is always related to a thermodynamic cycle. So, all the cycles are known as a thermodynamic processes, and these thermodynamic processes are combined to make a thermodynamic cycle. So, basically, the consideration in this will be all the power cycles which are associated with vapor and gas, and also the requirement of the calculation of efficiencies, how the efficiencies are calculated for various cycles. So we will start with our first slide. Power plant cycles are generally divided into two groups. First is vapor power cycle and second is gas power cycle. So in vapor power cycle, you will find Carnot cycle, then Rankine cycle, then regenerative cycle, reheat cycle, and binary vapor cycles. And in gas power cycle, we know that these gas power cycles are nothing but the working of the IC engine. So Otto cycle, then diesel cycle, then dual combustion cycle, gas turbine cycle. So basically the vapor power cycles which are associated, they will be the ideal cycles, and they will be acting as a base for all these type of cycles. And these gas power cycles are the cycles which will be used in the actual IC engines. So Otto cycle will be used for when the petrol is used, the cycle is known as Otto cycle. When diesel is used as a fuel, the cycle is diesel cycle. If any particular gas or any two fuels are used for combustion, then it is a dual combustion system, and then the gas turbine cycle. So we will go to next slide. We will start with our first cycle, that is Carnot cycle. In this we are only in this lecture we are only limiting our theory to vapor power cycles only. This cycle is of great value to heat power theory, although it has not been possible to construct a practical plant on this cycle. So this is nothing but an ideal cycle which is related with the calculation of efficiency. So this type of cycle will act as a base for all the various other cycles. It has high thermodynamic efficiency because here there will be no any losses considered, no any actual cycles, all the processes will be ideal. It is a standard of comparison for all other cycles. The thermal efficiency for Carnot cycle is as follows. So the efficiency symbol is equal to T1 minus T2 divided by T1, where T1 is in temperature of heat source and T2 is the temperature of a receiver. Going to next slide now. Rankine cycle. We will see now the sketch of the Rankine cycle. So here you will see the construction of a particular Rankine cycle is having a turbine at the far end. Steam is generated. This steam will be supplied to the turbine, and this turbine will be connected to a rotor or a generator which will produce the electrical power. Then the steam which has done the work of rotating the turbine will be taken up by the condenser, and with that condenser the actual treatment of the condensate will be done, and then to the pump, and this with the help of this pump it will be sent to the steam generator. So therefore basically a steam engine and steam turbines in which steam is used as working medium follow Rankine cycle. So the working medium in this particular cycle is steam. This cycle can be carried out in four pieces of equipment joined by pipes for conveying working medium as shown in the figure. So as we have already explained the working here, there requirement is of four components. Let's see the diagram of this. So here a PV diagram and TS diagram is shown for a Rankine cycle, and you will see that these A to B, B to C, C to D and D to A are the processes. So B to C process is evaporation, C to D is the adiabatic expansion, and therefore A to B will be naturally the compression, where the pressure is increasing at that stage, but at the same time volume remains constant. So again this is an ideal cycle. Then going towards the TS diagram, also you will observe that there is a tremendous increase in the temperature, and therefore from A to B during compression the temperature has increased. B to C it is constant, then C to D again it is reduced as there is adiabatic expansion, and then it is D to A. So the efficiency of Rankine cycle is given by H1 minus H2 divided by H1 minus HW2. So where H1 is total heat of the steam at entry pressure, then second, that is H2, total heat of steam at condenser pressure, that is the exhaust pressure, and HW2 will be the total heat of water at exhaust pressure. Then going for the next cycle, reheat cycle. In this cycle, steam is extracted from a suitable point in the turbine and reheated generally to the original temperature by flue gases. So reheating is generally used when the pressure is high, about 100 kg per centimeter square. So if we observe this diagram again, here there will be two turbines, and when the steam generator is passing the steam to the first turbine, then after that the steam is directly not sent to the condenser, it is sent to the reheater, where again it is heated at a constant rate, and again that particular expanded steam from the first turbine is reheated and it is converted into high pressurized steam, and again it is sent from this point 3 to the second turbine, and therefore this second turbine also will create some power, and then the particular cycle is repeated. So the one thing is that the steam is reused in this particular system, and the steam coming outside, that is expanded steam coming out from the first turbine, is again heated to appropriate for the appropriate properties of the steam, and then that steam particularly which was initially at heated stage, then therefore it is again heated in the actual reheater, and so there is a large presentation of the steam in the second turbine. So therefore we will get the output in terms of two turbines with the help of reheat cycle. Going to next slide, again the advantages for reheating are mentioned here. So the diagram is the same as the last for particular slide. The advantages are, it increases dryness fraction of steam at exhaust so that blade erosion due to impact of water particles is reduced. So as the dryness fraction of the steam at exhaust is increased, naturally the erosion of the blade will be reduced. Naturally, it will increase the thermal efficiency as the steam is reused. It increases the work done per kg of steam, and this results in the reduced size of the boiler. So, for the large amount of steam requirement, generally the size of the boiler is increased, but now as the reheating of the steam is done, the size of the boiler will be reduced so that the steam production will be at a higher rate. Some disadvantages are, cost of plant is increased due to reheater and its long connections, and second is it increases condenser capacity due to increased dryness fraction. Then here you can see that the TS diagram is shown that initially when the particular compression stage is done, that is from this point to this point, then after that from 1 to 2 the steam is expanded in the first turbine. So 1 to 2 is the first turbine experience, then 2 to 3 is nothing but that reheating process. So 2 to 3 is reheating process. From 3 to 4 the again expansion of the steam takes place in the second turbine, and then it is again sent to the inlet of the particular steam generation. So first turbine is high pressure turbine and second turbine is low pressure turbine. This cycle is shown on the TH diagram. H1 is total steam heat of steam at 1. Similarly, H2, H3 and H4 are at 2, 3 and 4 points respectively. HW4 is the total heat of water at 4 points. So how the efficiency will be calculated? First we have to see that the total enthalpy is there, so into bracket H1 minus H2 plus into bracket H1 minus H3 minus H4 divided by H1, that is the total heat of steam at 1, plus H3 minus H2, that is the reheating process, minus the total heat at point 4, so that will be HW4. So in this way the efficiency of a reheat cycle is calculated. Now regenerative cycle, that is feed water heating. The process of extracting steam from the turbine at certain points during its expansion and using this steam for heating for feed water is known as regeneration or bleeding of the steam. So see now here that the boiler is present here which will produce the steam. At the same time, this the steam which is there, it is entering into the turbine. Then this turbine, after the turbine, it will go to the condenser, then from condenser it will go to the pump, and then the actual system will remain constant. But now what will happen is, when the particular boiler is supplying the turbine steam, then this water the steam which is there, it will be sometimes it will be taken away from the turbine, either going for the condenser, it will be going towards the turbine, and during that particular working of the turbine, the steam will be taken to the feed water for heating. So this particular feed water will be heated with the help of the steam which is producing from the turbine, and therefore we can get a regeneration stage of feed water heating. So the process of extracting the steam from the turbine at certain points during its expansion and using this steam for feed water is nothing but the regeneration of the steam. Regenerative cycle, that is feed water heating, it is having the certain actual notations. M2 is weight of bled steam at per kg of feed water heated. M3 is weight of bled steam again at the same time for the feed water heated. H1 enthalpies of steam and water in boiler. HW1 enthalpies of steam and water in boiler. H2 and H3 enthalpies of steam at points A and B. T2 and T3 temperatures of steam at points A and B. H4 and HW4 enthalpy of steam and water exhausted to hot well. Work done now in turbine per kg of feed water between entrance and A is given as H1 minus H2. Work done between A and B points is 1 minus M2, H2 minus H3. Work done between B and exhaust 1 minus M2 minus M3, H3 minus H4. So total heat supplied will be H1 minus HW2, and therefore efficiency will be total work done divided by total heat supplied. So H1 minus H2 plus 1 minus M2, H2 minus H3, that is work done between A and B, plus 1 minus M2 minus M3, H3 minus H4, that is work done between B and exhaust. This is the total work done divided by H1 minus HW2, that is the total heat supplied for the feed water. So generally in this regenerative cycle for the feed water heating, the steam from the turbine will be taken away in order to heat the feed water which is entering into the boiler. Now why it is recommended? It is recommended because the water entering into the boiler must be of certain temperature, which is not a normal temperature of water, so that it is easy for the boiler to produce the steam at a higher rate. Then binary vapor cycle. It is in this cycle two working fluids are used. So the figure shows elements of binary vapor power plant. The mercury boiler heats the mercury into mercury vapors in a dry and saturated state. So here is the mercury boiler which is shown here, and what it will do is it is going to heat the mercury, and that mercury will be converted into the mercury vapors in dry and saturated state. So from this, as the density of the mercury vapors will be less, the mercury vapors will be accumulated here, and from this point it will be taken away to this mercury turbine, and then it is connected to the generator. But at the same time you will see that the actual working of this is the steam turbine will be there. Then again the steam turbine will be generating the steam, and it will be again sent after it is sent to the system. It will be sent from the superheater to the steam turbine. From steam turbine, again the condensate will go to the condenser, then to feed water pump, then to heat exchanger, and again this cycle will be repeated. So the way in which the particular thing is done here in working of the binary vapor cycle is the steam, when it is expanded here in the condenser to feed water pump, and from the heat exchanger, it will be some part of that will be passed to the mercury boiler in order to just exchange the heat from mercury vapors to the steam. So here you can see that these mercury vapors expand in the mercury turbine and then flow through heat exchanger, where they transfer the heat to the feed water and convert it into steam. So from the mercury turbine, these mercury vapors will be expanded, and then again it will be sent to the actual transfer to the feed water, and then it convert into steam. So the steam is passed through the steam superheater, where the steam is superheated by the hot flue gases, and then the steam expands in the steam turbine. So it is using the two working fluids in this binary vapor cycle. And last one is the reheat regenerative cycle. You can see here that there are two types of turbines, high pressure turbine and low pressure turbine, and one boiler. So this boiler will again transfer the heat to the high pressure turbine, and again this high pressure turbine will be connected with the help of heat exchanger, and then it will be passing towards this low pressure turbine. From this low pressure turbine, again it will be passed through a small pump, and again it will be taken to a particular boiler. So basically this type of cycle is having two processes. One is reheating processes, and second is regenerative. Means some part of the steam which is taken from the turbine will also be used to increase the temperature of the feed water when it is supplied to the boiler, and at the same time when the steam is heated, and after that the steam is taken from the turbine and again it is sent to the second turbine with the help of reheater, so that the combination of reheat and regenerative cycle is there. In steam power plants using high steam pressure, reheat regenerative cycle is used. The thermal efficiency of this cycle is higher than only reheat or regenerative cycle. So the combination of the two cycles will give us the higher thermal efficiencies. Then figure shows the flow diagram of reheat regenerative cycle. This cycle is commonly used to produce high pressure steam, that is around 90 kg per centimeter square, to increase the cycle efficiency. So see guys that we have only taken the overview of the various types of power plant cycles. They are working in short, we have explained. So this is generally related to the power plant cycles. We are going to post some another lectures related to power plant cycles also in deep, how the power plants are cycles are constructed, what is their construction working in detail. And don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel for receiving more videos. And also the upcoming videos will be related to gas turbines, then various types of power plants like hydroelectric power plant, nuclear power plants, their advantages, disadvantages. That also will be a short lecture on the overview of the power plants. Thank you.